Good people, good people. It is the next to last episode of NFC Beats. This is our preview for the Super Bowl. So win or lose, one more episode. We made it all the way to the Super Bowl. Y'all know how this works. If we got a team in the bowl, we keep going to the bowl. Once everybody's done, we're done. This year, Philadelphia Eagles are that team. We do have one person that, of course, seems to have a little sour grapes about that, but that's okay. Nothing wrong with sour grapes. They make great wine. So
I'm just promoting. What you talking about?
I didn't call anybody's name. I just said there's a certain person. I didn't call anybody's name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't call anybody's name.
Sounds like a guilty conscience.
No.
I didn't call anybody's name. I didn't point at anybody either. I just said that's my man sour grape.
All right.
Now, welcoming you to the next to last episode of the best division in the NFL.
Who's the new guy? Cool.
His name says Sam Shady, but
I thought maybe it was his cousin, or I don't know.
Guess who's back? Back again. That's as much singing as you'll get from me tonight. Till next week. Save it till next week, and I'll be singing the fight song for you guys.
Singing the blues, maybe.
Nah, I'm not concerned about it.
Oh wow, a lot of confidence.
I mean, we'll get into all that.
We'll get into all that. We'll get into all that.
Best division in football, y'all. You know why? We've been off the rails for like 20 minutes before this even started, so that's why things are like already crazy. But only division in the NFL, all teams have won a Super Bowl. And after Sunday, we may be the only division with multiple Super Bowl winners for every team. We'll see how things go. But before we talk about the future, we got to talk about the past. So we'll start off with the AFC Championship game, who most people, I think, felt was a foregone conclusion. All I'll simply say is the Swifties are a movement, and they watch religiously. So I don't feel like there was going to be a way where they were not going to have that team in the Super Bowl. Just because you bring in Taylor Swift brings in a whole nother audience if she's there and Travis Kelce's playing. So,
yeah,
are you saying that? I mean, egregious calls happen in every Chiefs game.
If that was true, they wouldn't have put the Eagles through. Come on,
Jason Kelce.
Jason Kelce, he's not even there anymore.
Flow.
He's still very.
What is the fact that Taylor Swift actually it makes perfect Swift for Taylor Swift to be there? Let me break something down for you. I'm prepared for all hate tonight, right? And all those snide comments. I'm already ready.
You making snide comments about the Chiefs like they cheated.
Let me break. They do cheat. They ain't no light. They do cheat.
My God! Here we go.
Let me break something down for you.
Go.
Taylor Swift's family.
You're one of those.
I'm not one of those. The proof.
Yeah, you're one of those.
You're one of those. You don't want to acknowledge it. You don't have to acknowledge it. But don't try to.
I'm not gonna acknowledge something that's not true.
It is true.
Oh my God.
So, I'm gonna tell you how you know it's true, and you can dispute it. I don't really care, but I'm gonna tell you how you know.
I don't care either. I don't think
it's true because when in the past has the NFL ever came out and said we're not helping a team win? In all the years,
because it keeps coming up in questions. They ain't saying it. They keep asking them about it. That's why.
People keep
the NFL's not
about years about the Patriots, about how they changed all those rules for the Patriots. At one time did they come out and make a comment that we're not doing this for the Patriots? No one. They've only done that one time in the history of the NFL, and that was for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Legit reporters weren't asking that question, and now they are. That's the problem.
You know why legit reporters are asking questions? Because they're starting to really see it. They're
because they're looking at the internet.
The specific plays that are happening. They're saying, you know what?
It is shaky on the internet. That's all it is. It's a different time.
It's former players are saying it and everything. It's not just people on the internet. If you want to try to discredit, that's fine, but it's not true. There are former players. Tom Brady even came out and said it's shaky.
Oh my God.
Several former players have came out and said it's shaky. So we're not just talking about people on the
Since
internet.
When do you believe Tom Brady? All of a sudden you believe him?
Tom Brady never said he didn't cheat.
it wasn't a fumble.
Didn't cheat.
Raiders was not a fumble. You know that's a fumble. The Raiders game.
What did Tom Brady say?
The tuck roll. He said it wasn't a fumble. He's always said that wasn't a fumble.
He's a cheater, so he knows cheaters when he sees them because he's a cheater.
Oh my! See, you can't go both ways. You can't trust him and then not trust him. Come on.
Who said anything about not trusting him? This is where you're.
Yeah, he is trusting him. He's trusting that Tom Brady's questioning him.
Tell the truth about other cheaters because he's a cheater.
Oh Lord.
Common sense.
No.
But back to the original point. Who are Taylor Swift's parents a fan of? Who's their actual team? Who did she grow up a fan of?
The Eagles.
I have no idea.
The Philadelphia Eagles. The only reason that she's got on Chiefs stuff and she's running around the Chiefs is because of her boyfriend. So her actual team versus her boyfriend's team. It's actually something that her followers would be interested in.
Why did they do it last year too?
Because we
I
sucked
like your
last
point, except for the fact that it implies that we somehow cheated to get there.
Exactly.
We sucked.
So you both cheated.
We sucked last year. No, we didn't both cheat, but it makes perfect sense.
Both cheated. Even last year when they're trying to help you couldn't do it. I guess this
they
time.
They try to help us last year, sir. I
mean, we got enough to help the Eagles and the Eagles.
Wow. Maybe you're right, Cool. Maybe you're right. There's a lot of cheating on both sides.
It makes sense that we're there because
it's cheating.
It's
cheating. Yeah, Taylor Swift.
No, we know the Eagles.
Yeah, no. You're the one that brought it up, so now
you want to do a horrible flip.
It's all
That's a terrible flip. That's a terrible flip, but we don't cheat, Mr.
Yeah,
Flo.
you do. You can see it everywhere.
You cheat. You cheat.
No, you don't.
Your team cheats.
You're the one that brought it up.
If
we cheated, we'd be in the Super Bowl every year.
No, you cheat. You're just not good enough even when you cheat.
Okay. I don't cheat good enough.
You don't cheat good enough. Oh, so
listen, you know the whole roof. You ain't cheating. You ain't trying.
Cheat good enough. Okay, you cheat good enough.
Your own
No, you just admitted it. You said you don't cheat good enough, but I guess you do cheat good enough.
No, we don't cheat. We don't have to cheat.
No. You just said you don't cheat.
Good enough.
No, I said that. That wasn't him.
You've been doing that almost 30 years. You try to twist the words, baby, but it's wrong. Nice try, but you're not gonna get by with that.
You just laid out. You just laid out the script and said who was Taylor Swift's team. Now we know why the Eagles made it.
Go ahead. I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish with your bull.
This was your thing, not mine. You're the one that's saying that
top
Chiefs
grade
cheated.
Hater.
And now Taylor Swift used to be an Eagles fan. Well, how did the Eagles get in? Well, the Eagles cheated too. They got played into the Super Bowl too. Hey. I'm just following your logic.
Hey.
Sam knows I'm right too. That's why he's over there smirking because he knows I'm right.
Hey. Now let me get back. Now let me get back to the original point. What you said. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know I'm not, but correct me if I'm wrong. If that's the case, it doesn't make sense for the Eagles to be there. It does make sense for the Eagles to be there.
Now it makes perfect sense. Now I know she was an Eagles fan. That makes perfect sense. It's all in the script.
Okay. Now you script. Now 5 minutes ago, you were arguing. Oh, nobody cheats.
Well, I'm following your logic. Cool.
But no, you're flipping.
No, it's either both cheating or it's not. There's no cheating. No, it's not. So you figure out which one it is. Cool. You figure out which one it is.
2 years ago.
Both sides.
If we're both cheating, we wouldn't have got screwed.
Neither one did.
Nice try. We're not
have it both ways. Cool.
We're not hearing it. No, we're not. It's bull crap, and we're not hearing it.
Just admit it. You're both cheating, or neither one.
They're cheating. Kansas City's been cheating for years. They cheated against San Francisco last year. They cheated against San Francisco the year before. They cheated against us. They've been cheating.
Now you cheated enough to get into.
So now the Super Bowl.
Hey, you're better than anybody else in the NFC.
They're getting more calls than they should. Then that's something that you can deal with yourself. But we all see it
because no one's getting more calls than anybody else. Come on,
they do get more calls than anybody else. Name another team.
No. If you look at the more roughing the passer calls than Patrick Mahomes.
Albert Flores, answer this question.
Oh my God.
Name another team besides the Kansas City Chiefs that have won multiple Super Bowls without getting one holding call on the offensive line. Name one. You can't because it hasn't happened.
They're well coached.
No, you can go back to the film and see how many players ain't coached.
Come on.
Don't do that.
The same pattern every week. Your hate's been following the same pattern. So I'm already.
Y'all get a bunch of holding calls? I didn't see a bunch of holding calls on the Eagles. And they be holding a lot too. I be watching them too.
We haven't went through a Super Bowl and not got no holding calls.
We watching them every game. They don't ever get called.
We haven't been through.
They were holding Micah Parsons every play almost. He didn't get no calls.
What's the guy?
Maybe if your team
Especially
was
against
better,
the Eagles,
he would have given you some.
They was holding every play.
You don't have to hold it.
You want to
Don't
talk
get
about
calls
that?
like
We can talk about it. No one gets every call. No one misses every call. No one. It's just part of the, it's a human
Kansas
factor.
City has not had a holding call on the offensive line in 4 Super Bowls.
Okay, name a team that's made it to the Super Bowl with just 2 holding calls.
Name a team that's made it with no holding calls.
Name one holding call. And you answer
my question first.
Anecdotal. You can't prove anything like that. You can't prove that. You're gonna go back to history to check all the holding calls that were missed. Come on.
Answer my question. Name a team that's been to multiple Super Bowls that hasn't gotten one holding call on the offensive line that entire time. You name one. You haven't
name one that's had one the whole time.
You name one that has none because Kansas City has
one
none.
that's had one. Okay, but you have to name one that's had one. Only one holding call.
Question, so you're trying to.
You can't answer the question either.
I don't have to.
How am I going to answer a question that I didn't look up?
I asked you a question you can't answer.
I can't answer a question.
All you can do is
give me a random question out of midair that you give me. I can't answer that. That's crazy. You want me to answer a random question about the whole history of the Super Bowl about holding? Come on.
America's the Cowboys suck.
This is dumb. Because now you're acting dumb.
As I was saying,
asking dumb questions. I'm not doing that. Now you're just being irrational.
Hey, look at everybody else. You're being irrational. It's okay.
I'm not irrational. I'm just pointing out the obvious.
You could have let him get to his point, and we could have all went by now.
I'm pointing out the obvious.
I get it. I understand. I get it.
Sam, that's why I'm saying be quiet. He knows I'm right.
Everything go around and everything besides answering the question. That's cool. You can't answer the question.
You can't answer the question either.
I can't.
They can't answer my question, so
I don't have to answer the question until you answer mine.
I don't have to answer yours either.
If I answer mine, you answer me. You can't answer me, so you're just doing.
You can't answer mine either. So,
everybody, we're ready to go on with the show, bro. We're ready to go on with the show. Thank you.
I'm ready. I've been ready. You want to ask me weird questions?
What you mean you've been ready? You've been interrupting the whole time.
You ain't let me.
I just said you can't say that about. And he goes off in his diatribe about Taylor Swift being an Eagles fan.
No,
that's why they're in there now. He about.
Oh, one side. Waited to your turn and get it. Wait after all his points.
I'm not gonna.
But you can't let me go, right? Because you're a hater. That's why you can't let me go.
Because you're saying dumb stuff. Even Sam said that implies we cheated.
I get to have an opinion. It doesn't have to be the same as yours.
Okay. Mine's not the same as yours, but cheating? Come on.
Yeah, they cheat. They cheat.
Oh.
If you don't like it, then you had your own opportunity when you had your turn to say what you want to say. But as Scrub so excellently put it, you may let me say but like 2 lines. Because what? You're a hater. And the hating you is built up. And that's okay.
That's not hating. That's stating the obvious.
Whatever I say, you just don't want to agree because you're a hater. And that's fine.
No, I'm stating the obvious.
Back to the actual game.
Even your buddy
City,
Sam stated
a lot of questionable calls. Some good plays from them as well. Buffalo Bills did not help themselves out as well, right? Because the one thing that I said 2 years ago and still holds true now, if you're going to beat Kansas City, you got to be up at the end of the game by more than 1 score. Because if you're down by 1 score or less, what's going to happen is one of those calls is going to happen that it may actually be a call, but it hasn't been called all game, right? And all of a sudden it gets called when it helps Kansas City, but it hasn't been called all game. So that's going to happen. And, there are going to be some people that don't agree. But if you go back and look at the film and actually look at it yourself, you'll see that it does happen. And if you don't want to acknowledge it, that's fine. You don't have to acknowledge it. But you don't have to cut everybody else off when they're talking either. But some people still do. Scrub, any thoughts?
On the AFC the Bills or who I thought they were. That's why they're home now. That's exactly why they don't listen. They get against the Chiefs. As this seems to be a lot of the AFC teams, but specifically the Bills. I know they go against the Chiefs. They in the playoffs. They play stupid. James Cook was running over them. Now we're gonna put it in Josh Allen's hands. What does that work for the Chiefs and for the Bills in the postseason? They'll leave it in Josh Allen's hands. Honestly, why did they beat the Ravens? Because they actually kept that out of his hands, gave it to James Cook. I thought they should have given him more and the other backs, but they kept it out of his hands. He didn't screw up the game. They won. He had the ball in his hands. Came down to a fourth down. Dude should have slid the protection. He didn't. Game over. Because you know what's going to happen with the Chiefs getting that ball back with that amount of time. They're going to get a first down or 2. Run out the clock like they did. Listen. Sean McDermott. I think they maxed out on him. He should have been bounced out. He's not going to be bounced out, but I think he should have been. I think they should look for a new head coach because you're not. It's the same thing every time they play the Chiefs. Your defense ain't holding up, and Josh Allen can't close it out. Doesn't make no sense to me, but that ain't my decision to make. But this is what the Bills get, and I get to laugh at them for it. Shout out to the Canada Bills. Because we dang on sure don't claim here in New York. Well, I don't at least. Couch, by all means.
All right. And so eloquently put there, Scrub, a nice geographical hate on those Buffalo Bills. Like that take. I think like the cool point earlier where it's all about that Kansas City making that play when at the most opportune times. And that's the thing where, like you said, you have to have a lead on this team when you are. It's almost like you got to put the foot on the gas when you have a Kansas City. When you have those type of situations, you have to almost pretty much put them dead to rights, because pretty much they are a team when their back's against the wall, they just perform. And that's another one. And you look at another performance there where this is the first time that they've scored 30 points in a game. And you think to yourself, that's just crazy to think a team that went 15-2, especially now in this high octane offense in the National Football League, this is their first time they scored over 30 points. So it's gonna be it's to kind of not go into the game tomorrow night, but just it's gonna be really interesting of how everything plays out, and I'll keep it that way.
Flo, now it's actually your turn.
Madness, but I'll say this, and I agree with a lot of what Coach says, is that when they need to play, they come up with it. You look at Patrick Mahomes, and he only rushes maybe once or twice a game during the regular season, but you look at all the postseasons, he's always got more rushing attempts, because that's when he saves it. He saves it for those times when they really need a third down or a first down. They're on the third down or fourth down, and they really need it. That's when he uses his legs, and he just uses it strategically. And they make the plays when they need to. They used to say, when you have less penalties, that just shows a well-coached team, and you have a lot of penalties, that just shows a poorly coached team. So teams that are coached well aren't going to have as many penalties. That's just the way it is. And teams that are poorly coached, you look at all the teams at the bottom, probably the bottom of the NFL, they probably have a bunch of penalties. Why? Because they're poorly coached. And this team is coached really well. And Spags came up with a blitz that, Josh Allen almost came up with that play, but it was a rush throw, and it was a blitz that they haven't done all season. So they do things, and they save things for the playoffs, and that's what they do. And they're going to save some things here for the Super Bowl. So they've always got something up their sleeve. They're always trying different things that they haven't done all year, but they've probably been practicing all year. They've probably been, doing them even in the postseason practice and things like that. And so the Chiefs they're a smart team. They're well coached, and the Bills just aren't as well coached. Josh Allen had a great season, and he almost pulled that one off. And I don't think we should disparage Josh. I think they did as well as they could. No one. For me, I don't even think a lot of people thought they were gonna win that division just because they lost a bunch of players. They lost Diggs. They lost quite a few players. They really don't have any playmakers to speak of that we could name before the season started, of course. And so it's just one of those things where Josh kind of carried him, and he limited a lot of his mistakes that he made, especially last year, not having as many interceptions. They didn't have him throwing the ball. They only had him making plays when they needed to, and they just came up short. It was only a 2-point game or a 3-point game, whatever it was. So it's not like they lost by a bunch. So it was a close game. Both teams played well, and just Chiefs came up with enough plays to win the game.
Sam?
I have the same reaction every time somebody says the refs are the ones that change the flow of the game. At the end of the day, if you don't want the refs to be a factor, beat the other team. beat them into submission. Don't leave it up to question in the end of the game. Like Cool said, if you're going to play the Chiefs, you need to make sure you're up by more than one score going into the fourth quarter, because when it comes time, there might be a questionable call. I'm not saying that that every single time they're getting the calls and every single time that other teams aren't getting the calls. That I don't think the data necessarily backs up that they are constantly getting ref favoritism. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to blame the refs, beat the other team. Don't leave it up to chance. And that's the main thing that no team has been able to do in the NFL this season. The Chiefs have lost, one game all season long by more than a score. And all season long, they've won 2 games that were up by more than one score. So, I mean, they're just one of those teams that if you're going to leave it up to chance in the fourth quarter and you're going to leave it in a close game that late in the game, you're probably going to lose. So at the end of the day, the Bills left it up to chance, and there were a couple calls that, I know a lot of people are upset about. I'm not going to sit here and speculate one way or the other, but at the same time, I definitely think that, the Bills left it to that point. If they had just, possibly made a couple different plays throughout the game or, made a few less mistakes, then it wouldn't have been left in the ref's hands if that's what you want to say it is. So at the end of the day, you don't want the refs to be a factor. Win the game. Don't leave it up to chance in the fourth quarter. So as far as the game goes, I'm honestly surprised to see that the Bills lost the way they did. And then ultimately Josh Allen still got the MVP, but we'll talk about that here shortly. I thought he had a great season. I thought the Bills were a really solid team this year. But at the end of the day, I think we all knew that, if KC was going to be in that AFC Championship game, there weren't many teams in the league that could realistically, beat them at that point. It's just how it's been the last 5 seasons. And, I've heard a lot of complaints about not wanting to see Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Well, that's another thing that I have to say. You don't want to see them there? Figure out how to beat them. Like at the end of the day, when it matters the most, it just seems like nobody can seem to develop a game plan that's gonna beat them when it matters the most. So ultimately, we have another rematch. It's going to be an interesting game next week tomorrow, and I'm very excited about it. So
technically next week.
Technically, depending on how you look at it,
yeah.
Depending on how you look at it. Biggest thing is be better in situational football. And we know the Chiefs actually, regardless of how we feel they are, and the Bills specifically against them, and you won't get them losers out my face. I don't ever want to hear about no dang on Bills again.
In the playoffs, that's normally bad, yo. All right. So now we had an NFC Championship game. And we want to start with Couch Coach because I feel like he should be the one to set it off with his thoughts on the NFC Championship game. Me and him have already talked. I understand his thoughts, but I would like for him to eloquate those thoughts here on the D's to everyone.
Yeah. And, a lot has happened in these last, 13 days. I feel a whole lot better. But if we would have did the show last Saturday, I would have been on some flow. We would have been here until Kendrick Lamar performed in the Super Bowl tomorrow night. I would have been talking everybody's head off all week. But in all seriousness, the thing about the game, and that's something that we kind of talked about prior to the matchup against Philly, having a 6+ turnover margin before this game, obviously having the those 5 turnovers against Detroit that helped us propel. That's when it's kind of one of the things where you live by the sword, you die by the sword. A game like this and this magnitude, having all those turnovers, those 4 turnovers turning to 28 points, you lose by 32 points. That was the difference. And all those plays, all those turnovers, they were literally, you took 2 steps forward and then you took 2 steps back. And that's the thing that happened in that football game for us. Obviously, you think you had a great clock-killing drive in the first possession, and then what happens on the first play for the Eagles? What you said, cool? You see Saquon nameplate, and you read his nameplate, it's over. And I think that's what happened with us. It did every time we had an opportunity to kind of get back in that game, a turnover happened. And then the starter brought the camera back. Obviously, the Jay Daniels interception that pretty much led to 21 consecutive. Well, not 21 consecutive, but obviously what happened after that. Then Will Shipley came in the game and he scored and what have you. So it was just one of those where, hey, the turnovers, that was the major difference in this game, and that's the reason why we're not playing tomorrow night, and you guys are playing tomorrow night, and hell of a season. It's better to love to never loved it all.
Fair enough. Flo, since I do recall you saying the Commanders were going to win. So how about you? You go next first. What are your thoughts on the NFC Championship game?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like at times that the Commanders were trying to give this game away. I mean, with the fumbles, especially. I agree with Coach that definitely changed the momentum. And so those turnovers didn't help at all. And so with turnovers, I mean, that's what's going to happen. And I think if we think about probably most of the season, I mean, this has plagued the Commanders most of the season. They've had multiple games with turnovers. They just happen to pull off the victories. And so, like Cool was saying, Taylor Swift, this used to be Taylor Swift's team growing up. And if you look at the penalties, the Commanders were penalized more than the Eagles. And so that was another piece of it, that they were penalized more. 9 penalties against the Commanders, only 5 against the Philadelphia Eagles. And some of those, weren't a lot of yards, but they gave you a first down. So or they took away a first down and things like that. So, yeah, turnovers and penalties that help the Eagles. Taylor Swift being a former Eagle fan, I think that's part of it as well. Making sure the storyline lines up with the Chiefs and the Eagles. Taylor Swift, grew up Eagles fan, so I agree with Cole on that. I think that the refs helped them out, and the turnovers definitely helped as well.
So I'm glad you went, and I was planning on going after you. So let's put the penalties into a real light here. How many penalties were there on the one play where the guy kept jumping over the top? That was like 4 or 5 of the penalties, correct? On that one goal line stand. So let's add that when you're trying to do your little overall, like, the Commanders had 9 and the Eagles had 5. Let's talk about how they got 4 on one play. So that kind of balances out and lets you understand what really was going on.
I mean, they moved a couple of times, but they didn't call it. So
shout out to Frankie Louvu. Shout out to Frankie Louvu.
Frankie Louvu was flying over the top multiple times. He did it so much that the referee was like, if you don't stop, we're gonna go ahead and take care of this. So
give him the points. You never heard that in my life.
And it should be eliminated. And they should be eliminated.
You can look it up, it's in the NFL rule.
I know, but no one's ever brought that up. Tell me a game they've ever brought
it up. It is
in the rule book.
Yep.
Yeah,
it needs to be eliminated.
So don't count. Cool if you can't answer the question. So.
I was actually talking. I'm gonna stop acknowledging the crap that you do. We let you talk. When you talk, nobody else jumps in. But when other people are talking,
coaches jump in too, though.
So, but you do it every time. But you do it every time. So, back to me, because it's my turn. You had your turn. There was 4 on one play. Also, I never even insinuated that the NFL or the refs were helping the Eagles get to the Super Bowl. That's just something that you want to make up because, again, you are a hater.
You brought it up.
No, you're a hater and whatever else. And I know you're so ready to want to jump in and say something else because that's what you do, right? But we let you talk every time. But back to me. I think that the Commanders had a great season, right? And I think there were so many outside voices telling the Eagles, you're not going to win. You can't do this. You can't do that. So many people betting against the Eagles that they came in ready to play because this is a team that a lot of these guys have been to the Super Bowl. So they understand that you don't always get an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. And they also understand, and I said this when me and Couch Coach did our Super Bowl preview, I think the Commanders are one of those teams that you're looking at and saying the next 2 to 3 years, they're going to be a problem. So we better get them while we can, right? Because once they are able to add some more free agents, once they're able to fix some of the issues, this is going to be a team that's going to be a problem and it's going to hold a team like Dallas down even longer. So I think the Commanders are going to be the main rival in the NFC East and in the NFC in the next couple of years for the better teams in the NFC. So I think it was imperative, and the Eagles understood we got to get this win now because 2 years from now, it may not be the same situation, right? There were turnovers. I don't expect someone like the gentleman below me to give credit to the defense for causing the turnovers. We just try to make it seem like
I mentioned the turnovers
the ball on the floor. But credit to the Philadelphia Eagles defense for causing turnovers and punching at the ball and trying to make those type of plays and doing those things. And I think this is a learning step for the Washington Commanders because they're getting to understand, like, okay, we did play this team twice in the regular season, but this intensity that they played us with this NFC Championship game was different. And they're going to learn from that because they're a team on the rise. And when you're a team on the rise, sometimes you have setbacks. The Eagles have been a team on the rise before. Back in the 80s or 90s, the Cowboys were a team on the rise. The Giants have been a team on the rise before. We've all been a team on the rise before. So when you're on the rise, sometimes you don't make it all the way right away. But they did a lot better than I think a lot of people felt they would for this season. And I wanted to commend them for that because I said in the offseason that I felt this team was going to be, in the first episode as well, I felt that the Commanders were going to be the second best team in the NFC East, and they did that. And I think next year they're going to be fighting for number one. We know that there's normally not repeat winners of the NFCs. So if the Eagles don't repeat next year, I feel the biggest rival, at least as of now, is going to be those same Commanders. For the game, all I really say is that sense of urgency. I think Washington kind of like we were playing with house money. No one even expected us to be here. And the Eagles was more like, we got to get it done when we can. And you saw that in execution. But again, a lot of those guys, it was their first time in that situation. Their first time in the playoffs, maybe their first time in the NFC Championship game. So it's a learning experience. And Washington's going to be better for it in the future. We did get the dub. We are headed to the Super Bowl, but Washington's going to be a problem. Sam, anything you would like to add, sir?
You covered most of it. Couch, this is no offense to you. I just want to make sure that I get that out of the way immediately. But I've heard a lot of talk about the refs, specifically in this game about the Eagles. And I don't quite understand it because, like, maybe I missed something, but I'm pretty sure this was like a 32-point deficit at the end of the game. I've never seen the refs factor that much in to a game that they put 32 points on the board by themselves. So that's the one thing that really bugs me about this game that I saw a couple Commanders fans and again, probably lesser intelligent Commanders fans that didn't actually watch the game mention that. But I mean, we literally as a team averaged 6.36 yards per carry and that we had 30 some carries. That's insane. We had 7 rushing touchdowns. Jalen Hurts only threw 8 incompletions. If we had lost that game, it would have been a miracle. So, I mean, I know that the refs had a couple factors here and there. I know there was a garbage time touchdown, but at the end of the day, we still won the game by like five scores. So it bugs me that the refs were even brought up as a factor. Yes, there was a little bit of a penalty deficit, but as Cool made very clear, there was a lot of those on one play. So, I mean, I don't think the Commanders necessarily played their greatest football in this game. And like he said, they're going to be a team that's going to be dangerous for many years to come. As long as Daniels is wearing a Commanders jersey, I have to worry about them two times a year for the rest of his career, basically in Washington. So, they're going to be a great team. They just weren't on this day. And, like the saying goes, any given Sunday, any team can win. And it was the Eagles Sunday this week. So let's hope they can carry that over to tomorrow.
Fair enough. All right. So, gentlemen, we'll switch gears here. Got some NFL
forgot about me?
Oh, my bad, Scrub. I apologize, sir. So many disruptions to throw things out. So many disruptions.
Oh, wow. Blame it on me. That's
right. Even though I'm not the only one getting forgotten around here.
I know how sad I feel like. He the new guy.
See, if he causes disruptions, you get called on because he wants to hear from you, so you can dispute everything you're saying.
Listen. The first drive told me everything I need to know how this game is going to go.
Okay.
All those pass plays called. I'm like, Washington's not going to win this. Because this is the same formula Kingsbury uses when he loses. I've seen this story. I know how it ends. I'm like, they pass and pass. And I said it. you can't keep helping your players bail you out from bad coaching. That was not good coaching there. And then on top of that, you had physical. Listen, the Eagles was hitting Washington players. That's why you saw the three fumbles forced the way they were. It wasn't just no lucky punch outs. They was going after the ball, going after the players. I think really the second turnover is where the game really ended for Washington, because they were only down 10 at that point. I'm like, all right, they could get that. Nope. Fumble. Eagles go down the field, score. I'm like, oh, this game over. And it was fun. So, like, listen, I had fun watching this game. Even though the team I picked didn't win. Someone was gonna win. I didn't want to win anyway. So, but the Eagles, they did a lot of things. They forced pressure on Jaden Daniels. They forced turnovers. Defense was over the place. The run game, they really couldn't stop the run game. Saquon on the first play of scrimmage. I don't know how he keep doing it to y'all, coach. Well, you gotta find something to stop this guy. He is. Do you owe him money? Do you owe him money? Did you take an old girlfriend of his? What did you do to this man? Because he keeps doing this to y'all.
You did that to him. You told him to get his own deal, and he got a deal in his own backyard. It's your fault, bro. It's your fault. We all abuse him.
Like he was doing this to y'all before he left New York. That's what I'm trying to figure out. What did he do to him?
I don't know, but it hurts. It hurts. It hurts. It's terrible.
I know. Oh man, but yeah,
I have nightmares. Bro. Hard for me to sleep these last 13 days.
No, dang. He on the John Murray plan. We need the same couch, coach. I need to laugh out of that. Listen, man. The game was the game. Like, I don't want to hear about the dang all refs. I don't want to hear about this. Washington got further than I ever thought they would. I didn't even think they made the playoffs. They made all the way to the championship game. So I got to give them props because I thought this team was probably a year out from the playoffs and probably like 2 or 3 years out from making this kind of run. So, and like I said, something I underrated. Y'all got the right kind of veterans, coach. Y'all got the right kind of veterans. Y'all retooled some of the young pieces. Y'all gonna be a problem. I wish my team was gonna be a problem, but this ain't about losing teams. Eagles, listen, the one thing we've lamented all season about them that they've actually done in the postseason through 3 games. They got off so fast. They open and drive. They've been scoring. We hadn't. That was something I know we've been lamenting for all year. They did that. I know the hope's going to be do that one more time. We'll ultimately talk about that a little later, but I gotta give props to the Eagles because I thought their coaching would do them in, and they did, and their coaching actually held it down. My only issue as far as the coaching really was Cliff Kingsbury, but this game really came down to one team just played better than the other this day, and that team is in the Super Bowl.
Fair enough.
I'd have made Couch Coach cry.
Emotional damage.
So we do have. We'll switch those gears now. NFL honors. All those good information. We'll go over some of them. We'll go over most of them, let's say. So we'll start with the Jim Brown Award. Saquon Barkley won that, the Eagles running back. And since he did also win Offensive Player of the Year, we can just kind of talk about both of those, at the same time. For me, Saquon Barkley, I feel like definitely was the Offensive Player of the Year. Definitely was the best running back this season. He did all the things that you expect and want your running back to do to help your team be successful. A lot of other players had to sacrifice their own personal stats, the wide receivers, the quarterback, all those guys, tight ends, everybody. But because of how great he was playing, I feel like you do that, right? We heard Devontae Smith say, "Hey, man, we run the ball. If that's what we do and we win, we run the ball." And that's kind of the mentality you want to have. And we have a guy like Saquon playing the way he played this year. You kind of want to ride that. You want to get behind that. You want to support that. You want to let him go out and be the best version of himself he could be. And I feel like that happened. Congratulations to him. He is an Eagle. But even if you were not an Eagle, anybody that has a top 10 all-time rushing season, you got to give props to. So can't win MVP as a running back, though. Just offensive player. That's just where the NFL is right now. That voting. Oh, what are your thoughts, sir?
You say float?
I did say float.
Oh, okay. I didn't think I'd go next. Just thoughts in general for all the awards, or one specific? Or?
Specifically Saquon.
Oh, Saquon. Okay.
Yeah, Jim Brown award winner as well as the Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. I mean, I can't disagree with Saquon. I thought he was the MVP to me because he brought the most to that team offensively. He was the difference maker for them. When Saquon broke off one or two big runs, they typically win those games. And when you held him in check, basically shorter runs, 10 to 15 at the most, maybe 20, and he doesn't break off a 40, 50, 60 yarder, then the team usually struggled or didn't win in those games. So to me, he was the MVP. I would give Offensive Player of the Year to Joe Burrow, considering the numbers he put up, MVP numbers. So I would give it to Joe Burrow and give Saquon the MVP. That's the only reason I would say I wouldn't put Saquon as the Offensive Player of the Year, just because he should have been MVP. And then I would give Offensive Player to Joe Burrow because he had an outstanding season. It's just, his defense let him down most of the season. And I just think he put up the numbers. If you look at his numbers, he put up better numbers than any QB, I think, in the NFL this year.
That's valid. Scrub, what are your thoughts? I want to make sure I don't forget you, buddy.
I appreciate that.
I thought you'd forget the new guy.
Team Saquon.
Listen, I told you. Offensive Player of the Year, and the Jim Brown Award, no surprise. For me, he was my number two as far as MVP. I'm not mad at anyone who thought he's the number one guy because he had that kind of impact. Considering how the Eagles season ended last year, the string of games that just looked awful, and then the difference this season, just how they committed to the run game when I didn't think the Eagles would have done nearly as much, considering who the head coach is and who the offensive coordinator is. Things I've lamented, I made that very well known, but they stuck with it more than I thought they would have. Saquon has been a key factor. He's made everyone around him better, and when you make everyone around you better, and you yourself have this kind of season he had, I mean, this was no brainer. This is easy work. So, congrats to him. It's well deserved. That's really all I got for this.
Sam, and then we'll finish with Couch Coach.
I don't think there was many other players that could have laid claim to this award. Like Cool said, he wasn't going to be MVP. Unfortunately, that's a quarterback's award. But yeah, I mean, he made the Eagles offense special, even considering the fact that we've got guys like AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, guys that could be number one receivers on any team. Saquon really took us to the next level. And again, I'm eating crow because he was not somebody that I wanted on the team due to his injury history in the past. And now I'm kind of wondering if he just didn't want to play for the Giants, because now all of a sudden he makes it through a full season carrying the ball more than he's ever before. So kind of interesting how that worked, but great season for him. Definitely deserved this award, and I have a feeling if he stays in Philly for the full extent of his contract, this won't be the last award he wins.
Yeah, and I think with these awards, it's tied with a narrative. I think that's the thing where I don't like what's going on with this, because I almost agree with Flo's point where Saquon Barkley, in all likelihood, is an MVP. When you think about a dictionary textbook definition of what a most valuable player is, it would be Saquon Barkley. But we know as far as how the running back value has been, devalued in these last 2 years, and it would be kind of going against the previous narrative about the whole running back scenario. I mean, you think to yourself, and I think that's going to be the difference in this Super Bowl. You having a guy like a Saquon Barkley, because you think to yourself, you guys won in the regular season 12 of the last 13 games of the season, and he was the catalyst of that. And like we've always talked about, what was the difference between Philly run game and the first? Yeah, you had guys that could hit singles, doubles, and triples. You got a home run hitter. You got a guy who pretty much has got you to this point. So to me, yes, I agree. Where yes, I think in Flo's case, to kind of wrap it up, he should be the MVP if you're looking at from the textbook definition of it. And then also, I think you said have like a Joe Burrow having that offensive player because of his stats and what he's done, despite that team not making the playoffs. Because that's another narrative too, where it's about winning and also being productive. And so you really couldn't do it for Joe Burrow because he was one game short, which now you think to yourself, damn, they would have beat the Patriots. They might have been in the playoffs, but that's here or there. But yeah, that's my take.
That's cool. All right, AP Coach of the Year, Assistant Coach of the Year, Ben Johnson from the Lions. I don't think there's really any argument there. I'll go through a couple of these, and if you guys want to, just have any thoughts on them, you can. The Deacon Jones Sack Leader Award went to Trey Hendrickson, the Bengals defensive end. And then the Salute to Service Award presented by USAA went to George Kittle, the 49ers tight end. I'll just simply say for those 3 awards, congratulations to the people who won them. I think Ben Johnson was pretty much a shoe-in based on what the Lions did this year. Trey Hendrickson, lead the league in sacks, you get the award, right? And then the USAA award going to George Kittle. That's cool that he got the Salute to Service Award, so that's awesome for him as well. You guys have any thoughts? Just feel free to give your thoughts. We ain't gonna go through all this.
I won't go too long on it, but I would have picked Brian Flores over Ben Johnson because I don't think Minnesota does as well as they did without that defense. I thought the offense was at times kind of fraudulent considering who the quarterback was, and I don't have much faith in the head coach. I thought Brian Flores meant more to his team getting to where they got to than Ben Johnson did for his. Not that Ben Johnson isn't deserving of the award. I'm glad he won it. It's good for him. I just personally would have picked Brian Flores.
I was just going to say, think about how valuable that signing for the Bengals has been with Trey Hendrickson. That guy was a middle-of-the-pack player in New Orleans. He comes to Cincinnati, and all of a sudden he's just a world beater. It's actually pretty amazing to watch what he's done in Cincy.
Funny. 2 ex Saints players go to other teams and turn into great players. Interesting.
Yeah,
Any other thoughts, guys?
And shout out to my little nephew, Ben Johnson, former quarterback, University of North Carolina. I'm cool with it. Obviously, you might have threw a cliff in there, but I'm still ain't mad about that. But definitely shout out to him, and he'll be doing his thing in Chicago. So shout out to my little nephew.
We ain't giving no love to Cliff Kingsbury over here.
Hey, I would actually second that. Like, I would get behind that. If he had won the award, it's definitely deserved for him as well.
Who?
Cliff, yeah. I mean, I think you do what you did with Jaden Daniels, even though he's a great player. Don't get me wrong, but that was impressive. It was fun to watch. So,
yeah.
Yep. I agree with. I'll just go since I haven't gone, but I agree. I think Cliff Kingsbury does deserve some credit and some consideration. I mean, I don't think he was one of the finalists on there, but I think his name should have been in there. But I think probably ahead of Ben Johnson, I think Vic Fangio, I think deserves a lot of credit. Basically, the number one defense overall, and the way they turned around. And they started out a little shaky at first, and then I just think he did a great job with a couple of rookies on the defense, and just the way he's put that defense together, been able to get a good pass rush most of the time, and just the way he's been able to mold that defense, in his image. So. I think I would have been mad if he got it, just because I think he's done a great job.
All right, and then 2 awards for Josh Allen. So we're just going to talk about both of them, of course. He won the Art Rooney Sportsmanship Award, and as most people have anticipated, did also end up winning the MVP as well. I'll just say one simple thing. They've been telling us all along that this was going to happen. They've been talking about Josh Allen like he's the MVP. They've been kind of setting that mood, and he won. I wasn't surprised at all. Flo, what are your thoughts on Josh Allen as MVP? I know you've kind of given us those a little bit, but what are your complete thoughts on that, sir?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's all, like you said, like most of you have already referenced. It seems to be a quarterback award, for the most part. But I think last year should have been Josh Allen, and then this year maybe Lamar Jackson. If you're gonna go quarterback, I think that would have been better. So it seems like you're doing NBA a makeup call. Should have given it to Josh last year and give it to Lamar this year. But if you're going to give it to a quarterback, but I still think Saquon Barkley should have won this award regardless. This was the year because there was so much, you weren't sure. You had Lamar and Josh. You weren't really sure. I mean, because people were going back and forth who was the favorite. People were, putting in for Lamar. And then some people were even putting Joe Burrow's name in there because, he was having great numbers. Even Jared Goff was getting consideration. Darnold was getting consideration as well. And so this was kind of those that not really one was just totally running away with it as far as the quarterback. So this was, I think, the year to give it to a running back where you didn't have a clear-cut winner. I think this was the year they could have changed the narrative and made it a running back and give it to a running back this year. So, but they didn't do it, and so it just continues to be a quarterback award. But, I mean, I think he deserves it. I think he deserved it more last year, and I think Lamar deserved it more this year, and it's just kind of a flip-flop award. But, I mean, they got one, so, it is what it is. That's the way they run the MVP now, out of a narrative. So that's how you're going to have to run it from here on out unless they start changing that. And they could have done that this year with Saquon having a running back win it and kind of change the narrative a little bit. But it is what it is.
Yeah, Josh Allen also was half of the FedEx Air and Ground Players of the Year. Jamar Chase was the Air Player of the Year, and Josh Allen was the Ground Player of the Year. So he did get another honor. Just want to make sure we throw that out there. Sam,
Okay.
What are your thoughts?
A little bizarre that he won Ground Player of the Year, but hey, whatever. Anyway, I could see the case for him, only because I would argue that maybe Lamar has more talent around him. But at the same time, I don't like the way the MVP is determined a lot of the times. And I think maybe we need to find a better way to do the voting process, because I wonder if it would have still been Allen if it was coaches voting on it. Because I mean, Allen's super valuable. Don't get me wrong; he's probably the most valuable player on his team. But in the league, I have a problem with that. I mean, I think that, like you guys said before me, it's kind of picked on a narrative, and who cares about those narratives? The media. So a lot of these media members are doing the voting. Former players are not. I think that a lot of times they miss the bigger picture, and this was one of those years that I think Lamar, whether it would have been his third, his fifth, his seventh, it doesn't matter. I think that he deserved it, in my personal opinion. But we'll see how things go down in the future. I mean, I would like to see them change the voting process, though.
Couch coach.
Yeah. Great points, fellas, on this situation. Yeah, I agree. I still want to have my stance as far as for the Saquon angle as well. But this is another one, the narrative. And I just found it, this is where it's like, I find it funny that the media members that voted for this MVP put Lamar as first team All-Pro. It's counterproductive. And like you said, we knew that people were giving us hints that that Josh Allen was going to be the MVP. It's almost like we knew this was going to happen. It's a foregone conclusion. It kind of reminded me almost like kind of the Joel Embiid, Jokic, if you want, from an NBA angle, where I think they didn't want Lamar to get that third. So they were like, well, let's get him into this. Let's get Josh Allen into the fray in a sense. Well, I think, in my personal opinion, if you look at it, and that's another thing, what are we doing as far as the MVP? Are we doing it based on stats? Or are we basing it on who's the most valuable? And I think that's where, you say one thing and then you vote with another. And like I said, and yeah, Josh Allen does deserve the nod as well. I do agree he has deserved it, because obviously if they didn't have him, this Buffalo Bills team would not have been in the situation we just talked about a few minutes ago about them being an AFC Championship. I agree with that. But you look at like Lamar's stats. I think Lamar had 41 touchdowns and he had 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, compared to Josh Allen had 28 and 6. So then the argument for last year, I think Lamar only had 24 touchdowns last year, and he won the MVP. So that's where it's like we need to have a clear definition of what we deem as the most valuable player, and I think that's where it all boils down to, because I feel like all this is everybody's going in circles with it, because it's just like, what are you deeming it as? And even people who have voted even said, well, what is the criteria? And I'm like, you're voting. Like, you're the criteria. So I'm just like, that's why I get lost in all this, as far as, how the voting of this.
That's a fair point. What about you, Scrub?
Well, how do I start? I don't think Josh Allen should have won this MVP. I damn sure don't think he should have won it last year. Josh Allen kind of reminds me of kind of like Drew Brees. Like, he'll have the good numbers, but he ain't doing enough to win the MVP. I don't know how you could give him MVP this year. Now, like, if you want to go off of stats, Lamar had the better stats. He had more passing touchdowns. He had more passing yards. He had a better passer rating, less interceptions. He accounted for more total touchdowns.
Well, give it to Burrow then.
He accounted for more total touchdowns. He accounted for more yards, more rushing yards. On top of that, if you want to go to Washington play, I saw Josh Allen throw 6 touchdowns in a game and look bad in that same game. Because when his team needed him to take the lead, he couldn't do it. He was missing throws. His plays weren't making. He wasn't making the plays he needed to. He's the only guy I know who got 6 touchdowns in a game and still look bad. And that wasn't the only game. He had some real stinkers. He had games where the team really did bail him out. And not that we haven't seen games where a quarterback seen bail the quarterback out as opposed to the other way around, but I didn't see anything from Josh Allen that told me like I would give it to him over Lamar. I wouldn't have given it to him over Saquon. For me, it was Saquon and Lamar, and it was real close. It was like Josh Allen was like a far number 3 to me. But like you said, a quarterback award. The media's been hinting at it. The media's been trying to give him the MVP for years. This ain't just the first year. They've been trying. They've been pushing for him to get this, and they knew they couldn't give it to him. And so A said it's close enough. He's no. But this is what happens when you go off of narratives, as opposed to actually going off of what's going on in these games, how these teams are playing. I know what the record was. And I'm tired. I'm also tired of people saying Josh Allen don't have peace around him. James Allen. So what are we gonna say? James Cook? He nobody. Shakir ain't nobody.
Yeah, all right. Would they be starters in another team?
James Cook would be a starter on another team. Like
you mentioned Shakir. Shakir is number one in another team. What other number one are they going to take off in place of him? Top 10 number one.
Number one on the. I mean, listen, Lamar ain't got no number one on his team. He ain't had no number one in years. Don't do that. Cause we don't say Mark Andrews. Cause he ain't no number one. I'm tired of people trying to push him off as number one. Because I said for years he's the number one. You got a problem.
A top 2, arguably running back.
All right, he got a top 2 running back. Okay. No, I mean, listen, he got the.
That's nothing.
I didn't say that was nothing. I know he got Derrick Henry, but
I mean, if you're just gonna go by numbers, you can give it to Joe Burrow. He had the best numbers: 4,900 yards, 43 touchdowns. Because you just mentioned the numbers with Josh wasn't enough, but you mentioned Lamar's. But if you're going by just numbers,
I mean, how many
give it
picks?
To Joe.
How many picks did Burrow have though?
9.
Double digits? 9. Oh, yeah, you could have given it to that. I mean, if you're just going by numbers, then that's a fair point. I ain't gonna say that's wrong. But also know that wins are kind of important too, and like
not a quarterback stat though.
Not a quarterback stat, but we talk about the teams. His team didn't make the playoffs. For as well as he played, they fell short.
Is that his fault though?
Part of it was not all his fault, but there were some games they needed him to overcome and he couldn't. Right or wrong, is just what happened. My whole thing. Listen. Good for Josh Allen. He got the MVP. They've been trying to give it to him. I just didn't see it. I'm like, so what? This is what we doing now? And how he get so? By the way, since he got the ground award, are we gonna say he's a running back? Like these stupid fans have been saying about Lamar and Cam Newton before him? We gonna do that? I just want to know.
No, he's clearly a receiver because he caught one.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's a receiver that can throw.
Okay, all right.
New category.
New category. I needed that because going over this just gave me. Yeah, it is what it is. But this is why I don't trust the media.
All right, let's just lump a few of these together.
Mm-hmm.
AP Coach of the Year, Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings head coach. I know there's at least one person that doesn't agree with that. AP Comeback Player of the Year, Joe Burrow, Bengals quarterback. We talk about for MVP. Defensive Player of the Year, Patrick Surtain II from the Broncos. We'll say the Rookie of the Years. We'll say that. Walter Payton Man of the Year, Arik Armstead, the Jaguars defensive lineman, and then the mini Hall of Fame 2025 class, Eric Allen, Jared Allen, Antonio Gates, and Sterling Sharp, who's a senior member. You guys' thoughts on that? I'm not even going to comment on those. I'm going to just let y'all go.
I'll run. All right, I'll run real quick. You said coach of the year. I didn't think that Kevin O'Connell should have been sniffing this. I would have given it to Dan Quinn or Dan Campbell, not him. Defensive player of the year. Patrick Surtain. I guess that makes sense. I personally would have given it Myles Garrett, but I'm not mad at Patrick Surtain. And then the Hall of Fame class. It took long enough for him to finally get Sterling Sharp in. He should have been in years ago. And I'm glad that they didn't put Eli Manning in, because Eli Manning is not a Hall of Famer. Much as I love Eli Manning, he is not a Hall of Famer. And I'm glad they didn't do that. But he's gonna get it eventually. We know. Yeah. It just matters of time.
All right, now I'll go. I didn't like, and shout out to Kevin O'Connell. I like Kevin O'Connell. He was our offensive coordinator in 2019. Shout out to him. I definitely thought we had a future with him going forward. But hey, he's in Minnesota. I'm cool with. I mean, it is what it is. I do like the fact that this team did win 14 wins, and then also dealing with the tragedy of Kyrie Jackson. He had that team together. I get all that, and that's cool. But what Dan Quinn did for this Washington Commanders football team is something that you won't see. A lot of people will try to duplicate this success, and it's not going to happen. You're not going to take away a 4-win football team and give them their most wins in 32 years. That's impossible. You win 12 games. You really have this culture, this pulse of this team. Like I talk about it, he has changed the trajectory of this Washington Commanders team. When you used to go to FedEx Field, it felt like a funeral. It was doom and gloom. You knew it was impending doom. You knew if you win a game, we will get our teeth kicked in. We was gonna get our ass whipped. Now we're going in those games, and it's celebratory at the games. I've never been, I never had that feeling up until this point, and I'm a grown man. I'm an old man. I'm a middle-aged man. And I've never been to FedEx until this year where this environment has changed. He has changed the culture. Forget the 12-5. He changed this whole culture and the trajectory of this football team. And to me, I think that it's a criminal that Dan Quinn is not the coach of the year. But it is what it is. Because that's another thing, too, where he'll never get it, because guess what? If they keep on continuing to improve, they're going to look at, well, he already won 12 games in his first year. So that's going to be the expectation. And then the other thing, I do love the Hall of Fame class. I like the fact that it's a small class. I think this could be something where you look at it where this could be the future of classes where it's not as many people, because I think sometimes they let a lot of people in that they shouldn't. And I do agree out, because I thought that Peyton and Eli was going to be the first brothers to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But thank goodness Shannon Sharp and Sterling is there. And I think and I don't care, and I think it was so emotional to hear this story between those two, even before them, him getting elected to the Hall of Fame. And I think anybody on this panel, anybody who's listening to us, who have a brother, you shed some tears. You just look at it. It's a perfect example of my brother's keeper on both ends. The younger brother being my brother's keeper, and the older brother being my brother's keeper. And that was such an awesome moment.
Completely echo that. Super cool moment to see, and I'm kind of glad they filmed it. It seemed a little staged, but it was awesome to see Sterling's reaction. I mean, he deserved it. Especially the impact that he had on the NFL while he was in the league. But the Coach of the Year award, in my opinion, it definitely should have gone to Dan Campbell. No disrespect to what Dan Quinn did, but the amount of injuries that the Lions had, and then for them to just keep rolling the way they did, like I don't understand how O'Connell quite ended up with it. I mean, I get the narrative with the tragedy at the beginning of the season, and don't get me wrong, that is obviously a huge factor. But at the same time, I think Campbell did a really good job holding his team together despite the injuries this year.
Flo?
Yeah. I'm just gonna echo a few things, but I'm a disagreement. I like Kevin O'Connell getting the Coach of the Year. I think that's a good choice. mainly because he lost his starting quarterback basically, and they still made it 14. I think they got 14 wins. I just think they got rid of Kirk Cousins. They could bring in a rookie. They think they're going to go with a rookie, a la the Commanders and the Broncos, and Kevin O'Connell goes and gets some 14 wins. I don't think anybody had the Vikings getting that either. So, they were a little bit of a surprise team, especially coming in with Sam Darnold. No one believed in Sam Darnold at the beginning of the year and thought he could take a team to 14 wins or help take a team to 14 wins. So, so I'm okay with that. I think Andy Reid deserved more consideration. I mean, considering they lost they had quite a few injuries as well. They lost their starting cornerback. They lost their starting running back. Lost their starting receiver. Quite a few injuries that they had, and they still were able to go to 15-win season. They didn't really play in that last game. So, but I'm okay with Kevin O'Connell winning. I think he did a great job this year, and I'm good with it. As far as I think I agree with Scrub. I don't think he'll eventually get in, but I don't think Eli is a Hall of Famer. Still not a first ballot Hall of Famer at least, and he's never. I think he was an All Pro one time. I mean, he's never been the best.
Never been all pro. Never
been a first team All Pro, right? Right. So I mean, so that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's hard. I mean, because he got the 2 Super Bowls, that I think that gets him in. If he doesn't win any of those, I don't ever think he ever gets in. But those 2 Super Bowls against, especially Tom Brady, I think that really helps him to eventually get in. But I think it was the right call not to make him a first team Hall of Famer, and I agree with Sterling Sharp. He should have been in a long time ago. So I'm glad to see that. That was a very nice. Even Shannon Sharp he says that he's the first Hall of Famer that has a brother who's better than him to be in the Hall of Fame. So, he was making pleas when he got in. So, I'm really happy that he finally got in.
Fair enough. And then 3 things left, guys. 3 things left on this. So we had the next gen stats moment of the year. Jaden Daniels game-winning Hail Mary throw versus the Bears. Our defensive rookie of the year was Jared Verse, the Rams pass rusher. And then offensive rookie of the year was Jaden Daniels, Commanders quarterback. All I want to say is Jared Verse. Don't talk about the Eagles no more. It doesn't work out well for you. But congratulations. I've been on the Quinyon Mitchell bandwagon the entire year, right? I got off last week. Tell you why I got off. When I saw the nominees come out and I saw that they also had Cooper DeJean, I was like, neither one of them are going to win. Anytime you have 2 people in the category from the same team, neither one ever wins. They cancel each other out. So that was Jerry's first award to me at that point. So congratulations for him for winning. Jaden Daniels, I've been saying all the time he should have been the offensive rookie of the year. So no surprise there. So and of course a Hail Mary game-winning throw should be the player of the year. So
although cool, real quick, Braden Fisk was also one of the finalists, and they still gave it to Jared Verse. So
that's garbage. But you know what it is? The difference is though, Scrub, 2 Eagles. No one likes us. So they definitely weren't going to give either one of them any love. That's the difference.
This is true.
Go ahead, sir. Since you're already there.
Since I'm already there, I
mean, in the big C.
I mean, like I said, like you got two rookies for 2 teams being finalists. I think I would have went Quinyon Mitchell myself, but I'm not mad at Jared Verse. Obviously, it's hands down Jaden Daniels with the play and the offensive rookie of the year. I don't think, for me, the next guy would have been Brock Bowers. And and as well as he did, he's like, it's a good distance between him and Daniels. Only thing I'll say about the Hail Mary play is all that would have been avoided if the Bears DB just actually focused on his dang on job. But you see, that's why the Bears are the Bears. Hopefully, with Ben Johnson, they will stop being poverty, but until proven otherwise, they are a poverty franchise.
Yeah. Shout out to Jared Verse. Yeah, that was I'm not mad at either. Jane Daniels, obviously the rookie of the year. We knew that was going to happen. But the moment of the year just hits different for me. That play, that was on my 40th birthday. That is the greatest sports gift I could ever get in my life. And I found it so funny in that game. At that time I was celebrating with my family, and it was funny. Bears scored with like 25 seconds, and my mom was like, "This game is over. What can they do in 25 seconds?" And what happened? The Hail Mary across the world, and it was such a moment. And it's funny because Colt McCoy beat the Dallas Cowboys on my 30th birthday, and I thought that was the greatest gift. And now, fast forward 10 years later, I'm like, wow, hold my beer. The greatest sports gift that I could ever get to receive was the greatest play of this year. So I love it. It was such a wonderful season. I get emotional thinking about that. Like, real talk. It was such a hell of a season.
I've got no complaints with these awards. I think they all went to deserving moments, people. I'll just pass it on to Flo.
I concur with Sam. I got no complaints about these. Jared Verse, I had him at the beginning of the season as a rookie. I kind of said I thought he would be a great addition to the Rams. So I like getting proved correct. So, but anyway, no qualms with any of these for the most part, and nothing really to add per se.
And Flaw, will give you credit. You did say that on here. I think one of our first episodes. You did say that on here, so I'll give you credit for that, sir.
Right. Yeah. Appreciate it.
All right, y'all. So, got one thing left to talk about. Super Bowl 59. Philadelphia Eagles, Kansas City Chiefs. Who you got winning? Why? And if you want, give us a score prediction. Flo, will start with you.
Oh, wow. Start with me?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
We know he's picking the Eagles.
So, for me, I think it's fairly evenly matched for the most part. The Eagles did have a great defense throughout the year. And I always said, if you can keep Jalen Hurts in that 24, 25 attempts, that's where you want him. And then Saquon Barkley, I thought was MVP. So I think he's the key to the game. So, the Chiefs haven't had a 100-yard rusher, in like 18 games. So I think they're going to be able to slow him down. I don't think they're going to be able to stop him necessarily, but as long as they keep him in check and don't let him break off a 60, 70-yarder, at least not more than once. Maybe he can break one off. I don't know. But I think that's the key for them and for the Chiefs is to do that. And I think Mahomes always tends to come up with a play to win the game. And so I just think it's going to be a close game. One of our guys says that he had I think he picked the Eagles, but then he had a caveat that he picked the Chiefs. He wanted because he thinks the narrative is going to be the Chiefs end up winning and Kelsey proposes to Taylor Swift out on the field or something. So that was his caveat to what was going to happen. But who knows? I mean, that's what he said. But I think it'll be a close game. I think if they can keep Saquon under wraps, I think that'll be the best thing. I think for the defense, I think they got to. If you look at what Jalen's been successful throwing it on the edges, and I think they're going to try and keep him in the middle. He hasn't really been successful throwing it in the middle, and that's what they're going to try and force Jalen Hurts to do. Slow down Saquon. I don't know if you can actually stop him completely, but it's been done. He's had a few games with 65 and 90 yards and, under 100 yards a few times. So it's not that it can't be done, but I think this is just a big game. I think he'll have some good numbers, some decent numbers, but I think that'll be the key. And then having Jalen throw it in the middle and make some more throws in the middle of the field. So yeah, I got I'm gonna say this. I think because of the defense and because I think it's just hard, just like the Patriots, trying to have that undefeated season. It's never been done with that many games, and they were right there on the precipice, and they lost to basically an inferior team, but a team that was able to disrupt them and just do just enough to win the game, and do enough things good to win the game. So I'm gonna go. Will the Eagles pull this one out? I'm gonna be rooting for the Chiefs. I'm gonna root for the Chiefs wholeheartedly. Mahomes, of course, is from Texas Tech, Red Raiders. So everybody in my hometown roots for the Chiefs. So I'll be rooting for the Chiefs to win this game. I'm gonna go high scoring game. The last time I think they met was in the 30s. I'm gonna go 30s as well. I'm gonna go 34-31. Eagles in the end pull this out, and I'm upset till next year. And Kelsey cannot propose to Taylor if he lose. So that narrative's gone. You were right, Sam.
Oh, I'm next.
Yes,
Did not see that coming.
I'm gonna let Sam go last.
Okay. Well, I think this is really going to come down to turnovers. Obviously, the last time these two teams played in the Super Bowl was only one turnover, but that one turnover ended up being the difference. I do think the Chiefs have to find the one thing the teams have not been able to do is stop Saquon this postseason. They're going to have to find a way to do it because if they don't win. They don't have a choice. It's not we can let Saquon get off and we'll just stop everyone else. No. You stop Saquon or else.
I mean, he's been stopped a few games.
No, but not in the postseason.
Oh, well.
And you see that there, and that's really all that matters at this point in the year. If the Eagles, I don't want this game close. I do not want that boy. I do not want Magician Mahomes with the ball in his hands. As much as I make fun of him calling it Patty Mayo, he come up with some type of magic late in these games, which lead them again with a win. But you know what? I still don't trust the Eagles coaching staff. And until they prove to me otherwise, I can't pick no goddamn. And they're still the NFC East. And they're still the enemy. And I ain't pick them all postseason. Why the heck would I start now? Give me the Kansas City Cheeks.
I'll be rooting for him.
So, all right. Yeah, so to talk the flow point momentarily. Oh, yeah, he did with also Patrick Mahomes with the Texas Tech because I thought the former owner of the New Jersey Generals of the USFL said that Tommy Tuberville coached him at Auburn, but I'm going to be quiet. But anyway, let's talk about
he was Texas Tech.
I know it's a joke. It's a joke. I know it's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Oh, okay.
It's a joke. Yeah, okay. I just want to do a little dig. Oh no, we know where he's from for sure at this point. But yeah. I
thought it was gonna be Cliff Kingsbury against Patrick Mahomes. That's what I was hoping for, because that was his former head coach. Yeah.
And I'm gonna really come from a unbiased, not a scoring lover sense where, in the situation, I'm going to be really methodical and smart about my analysis against this game. I think the biggest thing, almost to echo the Scrubs point, is going to be the turnover battle. Obviously, you look at Philly coming in with a plus 10 turnover margin. And so Kansas City is 34-1 when they win the turnover battle. And the last time that they have won the turnover battle and lost was in week 1 of the 2023 season against Detroit. So I think it's very imperative for them to win that turnover battle if they expect to win. In a weird And that's why. So this game is going to be so the irony, because I think we sat here 2 years ago and we thought, hey, this team had 70 sacks in the regular season. They were going to get pressure to Mahomes. In a strange but bizarre way, I think how it's going to play out, I think you guys are going to get pressure to Mahomes more than you did in 2023. And I think one guy that I think could potentially have an impact is Milton Williams off that edge. I think that's someone where I think he could potentially have somewhat of a, can have that. And then obviously Saquon Barkley. And then he's another one that's such a deadly threat. People don't realize the points that he has put up, even not the points, but more as far as the yard production he had in the second half. In all the games in the second half, if he just played in the second half and all those games he played, with the 16 games he played, 1,245 yards. He would still be a top 10 rushing in the league, even if he took the half off. And shout out to our guy. He said, we talked to him the other day about the matchup, and he said, well, we did a good job of balling up Derrick Henry and other running backs. He ain't Henry. He ain't none of them. He's one of one. And this is, and then you think of even in the last matchup where Jalen Hurts had 4 rushing touchdowns. You add that couple with a Saquon Barkley. This is different. Don't think about 2023. I know that's just 2 years ago and it's in our rearview mirror. Slam that rearview mirror out the door. This is a different Philadelphia Eagles team. And, of course, my analytic brain, I got the Philadelphia Eagles winning 37-31. You'll win your second Super Bowl, and, you'll be an elite company in the NFC East where you'll be, almost catching up with us and the New York Giants. So, cool, Sam. Congratulations tomorrow night. Okay?
Well, I'll let Sam finish up. I'm just going to simply say a couple of quick points. I think that Kansas City is going to come out. The goal is going to be to try to stop the run. That's going to give Jalen Hurts the opportunity to do what he did last game, do what he did in the situations where teams did try to stop the run. That's throw the football, good accuracy, make plays through the air. That's going to force them to have to come off the line and cover. That's going to allow Saquon Barkley to do his thing. Adjustments will be key. Vic Fangio has shown us this season that he's great at making defensive adjustments for the Philadelphia Eagles, something that we really haven't had since Jim Johnson was a guy that would come in and really make adjustments. A guy that really wants to be the defensive coordinator, wants to sink his teeth into that, and that's where he wants his focus to be. Offensive side, a little concerned because a lot of reports are saying that we're going to be leaving our OC in New Orleans. He's going to be the new head coach. Last time we had a coordinator that was already pretty much out the door, it didn't bode that well for us. But I think this team has so much talent, just top to bottom, offense and defense, that they're going to go out there and they're going to play. A lot of these guys were there 2 years ago when we did not win. And that misery, that pain, that just disappointment, if you go back and watch the videos, you watch a lot of the videos that have been put out by Eagles fans that show that as the motivation. And then we go to this year and what we've done so far. This is a time to kind of get that monkey off their back, to get that negative juju out by getting this win. There hasn't been a team in the Super Bowl era, correct me if I'm wrong, there hasn't been a team in the Super Bowl era that's three-peated. So the Eagles have stopped the three-peat before, and that was, with the New England Patriots. So this is an opportunity to go out and do that again. If you're going to win a game against the Kansas City Chiefs, you have to be up by multiple scores. And when I say multiple, I don't mean 2. It needs to be at least 3 scores. That can be 2 touchdowns and a field goal. That can be 3 touchdowns. But you have to be up enough to where you have a cushion. So I believe that it's going to be a 10-point game, 38-28. And I believe that The Eagles go into the fourth quarter, up 3 touchdowns, lose a touchdown in the fourth quarter, and end up winning by 10 because, they were up 2 touchdowns and field goal. They go in, they lose a touchdown, and then they end up winning by 10 points. If this game is close, I think that leads towards my beliefs in what happens with the Chiefs and them winning the game. So I think you're going to have to be up 3 scores. And I think Philadelphia's going to find a way to do that between the offense and the defense. Do believe the combination of Gene, CJ, and Blankenship, one of those guys are going to get a pick 6. So that'll help with that margin that we need. Kansas is a talented team. It's not a give that they couldn't win without the questionable calls. But they have the questionable calls. So I'm not going to overlook those and say they don't happen. So I think that's where I'm at. I need a good solid 3 scores going into the fourth quarter, 38-28 Eagles. Let's hunt. Sam, it's all yours, sir.
Man, I'm not prepared to say that we have a 3-score lead heading into the fourth quarter, but maybe that'd be great. I'd be on the edge of my seat if that's the case. But one thing I wanted to point out that I think is kind of ironic is Andy Reid in 14 years as the Eagles head coach appeared in 1 Super Bowl. Since he's been the Chiefs head coach, we've faced him as the Eagles versus the Chiefs twice now. So just kind of funny how that all works. I'm a big Andy Reid fan, but you don't almost never root against him. But this is one of those games that I'm going to be rooting against him. And I personally do think the Eagles have enough juice this season to actually take home the victory. We've watched so many Super Bowls that have come down to the run game and defense. And those were the 2 areas that we improved the most over the past couple seasons. And I really think that we have the secondary, most importantly, to slow down these wide receivers and force the Chiefs to try and lean on the run game and Patrick Mahomes running the ball as well to slow them down enough on offense to, force a couple turnovers here and there. Not necessarily interceptions or fumbles, but punts, which is kind of rare when you're facing the Chiefs. So I think that's going to be the big difference in here. I think it's going to be a defensive game. I think the Saquon's going to kind of find 1 or 2 big plays, and that's going to end up being the difference in this one. And I've got it similar to Flo's score, actually, but I've got 34-27. Still a little bit too close for comfort if that's the score going into the fourth quarter, but I definitely see the Eagles pulling this one out this year. So I'm hoping. We'll see you tomorrow.
Absolutely, guys. Right. It's your boy Cool McCain for Scrub, aka Team Saquon. For the man, Couch Coach, Big Flo, and Sam. I think Sam. Not sure, but he says Sam Shady on there.
Yeah, I think that
sounds like Sam. Doesn't look like Sam. At least not Sam I know. But for all of us, you're at the NFC Beast. You got us for one more episode next week. Either way, we're still the best division in football. But let's get 2 for the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly.
A lot of Chiefs win.
Understandable. I wish you would have picked them. I'd have felt better if you picked them, but hey, you probably did despite me anyway. That's fine. Have a great night, guys.
Reverse stinks.
Super Bowl Sunday. It's coming.